don't know the fucking words of this song.
Go. Dun, da, 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 dun, da, 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 da.
Manny, Carl, Daniel, Gable. It's the time for talking. It's the time to talk to Trim all day long. It's okay.
Yes, I knew the Italian would come out.
That was perfect. I love these intros.
I think that was an Italian wedding song at one point.
Carlito.
We have Manny.
We have another special guest, and we have to the left of me and the right of you, we've got Daniel Vella from Vella.
Contracting.
Let's get the information out. Where do we find you on Instagram?
Oh, where do we find me on Instagram? Well, my handle is at Vella Contracting, VellaReno.com.
And email if you want to give it up.
Daniel at VellaReno.com.
Up to you if you want to give up your number.
647-220-6751. All day, all night. I probably won't answer all day, all night, but that's my number.
Never answers.
That's how it
It's because
goes.
he's on the tools. He's on the tools.
On the tools.
Carlito and I have been at this almost like 60 episodes now. We've been working at this and working hard, and we're finally getting our stride. So now we're getting into a little bit more.
Right on.
We're being a little more pro.
What?
Is that what we're being?
I think we've talked the aggression and anger of the industry out.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And now we're actually happy about the industry.
What's changed? What's changed?
So here's, you know what? You're going to be the first one with some new elements to the show. And we want to start off with, I've got a little history, factual information that we want to ask you. Ask Carlito. Carlito, he doesn't even know what I'm going to ask, right? But this is kind of his idea. He came up with it. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, I like that idea. That's a cool idea.
Thanks, Manny.
So here's the question for you, Daniel. When was MDF first introduced?
That's a great question. Carl, what do you think?
Oh, no. You're in the spotlight today, Daniel.
Listen, if you can't answer it, that's totally fine because I've got the information here.
Honestly, I do not know when it started.
Okay,
No.
so MDF was first developed in the United States in the early 1960s. But it was kind of derived from an inventor by the name of William Mason from 1925. And he attempted to take wood chips and like discarded wood chips. And then he was trying to use it for insulation. He left his machine on overnight. And by the morning, he had a compressed board.
Wow.
And the invention, basically, of MDF. That's MDF, which you're probably very familiar with.
Very.
We're
He
familiar
loves
with it.
MDF.
I'm not a huge fan of it for the reasons of the health concerns here.
Absolutely.
So the factual history again.
Okay.
Here's the health concerns. So it's because of the low-cost resins that some of these manufacturers use. The binding agents, they basically have a lot of off-gassing with the urea, formaldehyde.
Right.
That's the problem with the MDF. As long as you find a good quality MDF manufacturer, you probably don't have those low-cost resins, and you won't have that much of a health issue. But other than that, it finishes nicely, it paints nicely, it works nicely, everything's perfect.
I have one last thing to say about that.
What's that?
We're focusing on the MDF. There are worse things that for the listeners to know. Their television and their carpet and their upholstery.
Exactly.
Much worse than the MDF. So don't let that discourage you and take you away from buying MDF because I love MDF.
But I do like the fact that the MDF started in the 60s.
It's brilliant.
In the U.S.
Brilliant.
Each show, we're going to do a little factual history. And since you're a wood guy, trim guy, we thought MDF, man.
Now you know everything.
Now, I can leave. Can I go?
No, you cannot
No,
go.
we have to pick your
So
brain.
back to that first point with regards to the resin and the off-gassing and all that stuff. Have we found a supplier or a manufacturer that does in fact produce something that's less toxic?
That's a great question. I'm not a huge MDF guy, so I haven't done the homework. Have you found?
I haven't. So I default to basically what my suppliers stock or what they can order. Generally know little to nothing about what I'm installing in that sense. It's MDF, yes. I understand that it off-gas, it is toxic. Over time, it does diminish, right? It doesn't off-gas forever. For how long? We don't know.
We don't know about this stuff.
It shouldn't scare anyone away from using it.
No. People ask me all the time when I'm installing MDF products in their home, like, is it a concern? Should I really be worried about it? And that's the argument I always have. Is
you shouldn't.
everything in your house is off-gassing.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, the
So what are you gonna
argument
say,
is you can always tell the homeowners, what about all the furniture you're buying?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean...
But the thing is, you do make, both of you bring up a great point. If you have the money Sure, you can help yourself a little bit more, but then you might as well get rid of your TV and your couches and everything else.
It's a different world.
Where are we at? You know
Let's
what I mean?
get back to our guests.
Actually, I'd like to do one more shout out to Skylux Roofing. Our boy Mark here, always helping us out to change the industry for a better place.
And giving us a nice home to record this podcast.
Thanks,
and
Mark.
It's a live working shop, and some guys just flew in and flew out. They were wrapping up their day. And let's get to Daniel.
It's fucking cold in here.
It's a little chilly in here. We have to turn the heat off, otherwise it's a little noisy. I've already started seeing some posts about birds fucking, which is a nice sign.
Yeah.
I love birds fucking.
They do it doggy style, which I don't understand, man. I don't get it.
No, it's bird style.
Don't get Carl started because this is a rabbit hole you do not want to go down.
You know what? I don't want to get into bats right now because it's C19.
What do you think about goats, Carl? Tell me.
Oh, I know that's a sheep.
Can we get back to trim?
Yes,
Wood?
yes.
Wood trim?
So hold on, quick trim. I'm a trim guy. My license plate actually says trim guys on it, and I get asked, "What do you do?" People think I fucking trim guys. Like it's a
my
fucking
God, are you
noun,
serious?
not a fucking action.
Wow.
People actually ask that?
Generally, not people at Home Depot who kind of know something
they're
about
put together.
You know, but people are like trim guys. What do you do? You fucking a barber or some shit? Like,
Driving around with a black rape truck.
I got duct tape and shovels in the back. That's it.
Not even
animals.
true.
No,
Not even true.
no, okay.
Daniel's a family man.
Yeah.
He's a perfect human.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Back to you.
So
How did you get started?
You want the long story or the short story?
I want the real
You want
story,
the real
the
story.
story.
So, in terms of trades, so it's kind of weird. I didn't go to school for any of this stuff. I'm sort of like the old school kind of learn on the job kind of guy. I guess back to the beginning, I went to an art school for fine arts.
How long ago is this we're talking about?
Well, that was high school. I'm 35 now, so what?
Okay. Everybody's always younger than us.
I
like
can't do
Carlito.
math. What's that? Oh, yeah. It was a long fucking time ago.
That would have been about 20 years, so I guess 18
Like that,
years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah, I met. Okay.
Okay.
By the way, he's great with a measuring tape.
Yeah.
He's a
Eights
trim
and,
guy and he can't do math. Okay. Got it. Perfect.
Subtract. Anyway, so yeah, I went to ended up going to college for new media design. So got into like the whole web design business and training. That's what I did. So anyway, out of college, got a job at Home Depot at a big box store. Worked my way up the ladder there, became a project manager. I met one of the big wigs for the installation program. Hooked me up with some side jobs. Wasn't supposed to do that. Ended up working out.
Wicked.
Started a business, right? You know, had to give my 2 weeks because it sort of took off from there. And then went through some partnerships.
Nobody taught you?
At that point, not really, except for maybe my father, but he wasn't even a tradesman. Like he just had the typical garage with the tools and would build stuff around the house. And that's kind of where I guess developed the hands for it. At the start, no. After I'd started the business, ironically, I went to work for someone else a few years later who was a finished carpenter. And I ended up doing subdivision homes and picked up the trade that way. Sort of refined the skills, if you want to call it that, doing subdivision homes. I don't know if you can call it refined. Definitely picked up some speed there. And again, after that, I kind of realized I don't want to be working for someone else much longer. Started picking up again.
How many years were you at the subdivision part?
I was doing that for about 3 years.
Union?
Union, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are all subdivisions union?
I want to say yes. I couldn't tell
I'm
you for sure.
assuming
but
yes. I'm just
yeah.
assuming it.
How was that experience?
It taught me a lot, definitely about business and about making money. If you know anything about union rates for trim carpenters, it's, for example, like for baseboards, they're honestly, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's basically the equivalent like 10 cents a foot you're getting.
Wow.
So you got a motor through a house. So we'd show up to a house with 5 guys, it'd be 2,500 square feet. We have to finish the house in one day or our boss is losing money.
Holy cow, man.
God. I don't believe that.
That's the true meaning of piecework, huh?
It is definitely piecework. There's some areas in the trade, like installing doors or when you're doing columns and stuff, like they pay more for that stuff. So he would kind of take on that kind of stuff, and while we motored away on trimming
The
windows and
extras.
doors.
So
yeah.
how did you in like subdivision homes, how did you handle like 9-inch baseboards and 4-inch casing with backbend and coffered ceilings and
How do I
There
do that
wasn't
now?
any.
There wasn't any. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
There was
How do you pull that
1-inch
off in one
baseboard.
day, man?
you get what you pay for. Put it that way.
Yeah. So what was it? Like 4-inch baseboards, 2.5-inch
Barely.
casings?
Isn't it like 3-inch or something like that baseboard and
Yeah.
a 2.25 trim colonial?
Ours were we typically did 5.5 base.
That's pretty big.
It was pretty big. We
It
did the
is.
3-inch backbend colonial casing.
Wow.
They call it aristocrat, some shit like
The
that.
combined
one,
piece, right,
It's
yeah.
colonial, but it has the backbend built
Yeah,
onto
yeah.
it. That was kind of the upgraded version of the 2 5/8 colonial.
It's really funny because you're not being paid for the upgrade, but the builder's taking the upgrade from the client.
It's the same
I
install.
hate it.
Still got it done in that one day.
Yeah,
but
he gave the price. Here's the price, but the clients asked for this, and the money
Yeah.
went into their pocket.
but the union set the rates too, right? I guess that's all
course.
part of their bargaining.
You had benefits and pension,
We
right?
did, yeah,
Yeah. If you stayed.
And for some people, that's what they want. Like they're happy with that kind of life.
They don't
But
want
for
the headache, yeah.
They want the headache. They want to show up, collect a paycheck. I've heard you guys talk about this before. Go to work, go home, and shut off, right?
Yeah. But there's a huge difference in talent and product finish. You use shims, you'll nail it really well. A union home or a cookie cutter home,
Get it done.
that casing is the only thing holding that door in place.
if you're doing the U channel, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
People don't know that. Then they wonder why their doors are all cracking.
They're all cracking, yeah. And I don't want to give away too much on how things are done, but yeah, it's production.
You said something very important here, and you and I have had many conversations. I've known Vella for almost 20, closer to 20 years almost.
Has it been that long?
16,
Jesus.
16 years, 15, 16 years, probably even longer. We've had great conversations in between, and one of the things we spoke about was, I always hear from people that we're giving away too many trade secrets. So the other day, me and Vella were talking. One of the things I said was, I used to teach some martial arts to people. The one thing is, I could show them 20 moves. They'll walk away with no knowledge at all and no memory of those moves. So it doesn't matter how much we give away. 99% of people won't pick it up. But the 1%, good for them. Yep. You know what? We're trying to change the industry, and it's important to share that knowledge.
Have you had people reach out to you and tell you stop giving up these secrets? Because I've had that a few times.
I've been pretty careful in terms of doing it online. If you've ever seen my Instagram or any of my stuff, even my website, I don't show like the nitty gritty, like the detailed stuff about it, because it's always going to be there for reference. Whereas if I show someone in person, good luck remembering that next week.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like,
Of course.
It's true.
but online, yeah, I show finished work, maybe some progress, and that's it. I barely write anything about it. There's not much in the captions. This is what it is. We can get into how
We'll get into
other
it,
guys
but
do it. Yeah, for
so
sure. But
3 years in subdivision, and then you went on your own. And that's when Vella was created, contracting was
so
created?
that was a second round of Vella, basically. So I had
second round.
I had done it out of Home Depot the first time. That's when I first started off,
okay.
right?
That's when I met you.
That's when we met originally.
Yeah.
We met. That's right. A couple of years of doing it on my own there. I went to work with a carpenter because I couldn't. Sure, I was getting married and I needed a little more security. So I wanted to work for someone else for the time being, just to,
Totally makes sense.
you know, it wasn't that I wasn't making money. It's just
You needed to make more.
it wasn't not even that. I made less,
Wow.
but it was steady, right? That was the thing.
You didn't have to run a business. You didn't have to worry about the next job.
I became that guy, and that only lasted so long. So a couple of years of doing that, I got the itch. I had to get back out there. So I started putting, my ads out on various sites and started marketing myself that way. And then before I knew it, I had no evenings or weekends free because I was doing so many side jobs, and it was taking off organically on its own.
Wow. Good
And
for
then,
you.
so I basically just told him I want to get back out there on my own. I did it, properly. I didn't burn any bridges. That was it. There was no turning back after that. And that was, 10 years ago, 11 years ago now.
Thank God you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vella's taught me a lot. He's taken me from using jigs to do crown molding, and he slapped me in the head one day, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm
is
like,
that?
"I got this jig, man, from Lee Valley."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're such an amateur." And then he taught me how to properly do crown molding. It
So how did
changed
you
everything.
learn? Like, how did you just learned on your own on the site?
It's crazy, man. I get asked all the time. I don't have a fucking answer. I don't know how it was generally like on the site for sure. I've always been comfortable with tools. I hate to sound cliche, but I genuinely love what I do. So if there's something I love to do, enjoy doing it even, I want to know everything about it, and I'll figure it out. Yeah.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought because it's like what Richard Branson once said, that if someone asks you to do something you don't know how to do it, just tell them that you know how to do it because you'll figure out how to do it.
That's it.
Well, it's also true that at some point, we're always going to have that one first job that leads into a second job or a third job. Of
course.
You have to do that one job once in your lifetime to start going.
But how many times do you hear, maybe I'm the exception, but how many times do you hear of guys doing that? I'm going to take a stab at the trades. I got a hammer, tool belt. I'm going to go do it. And they fuck one person after the other, right?
Yeah.
They never figure it out, but they're making money. How does it happen?
You're so right.
We're losing, I myself lose jobs to guys like this who go in, and I'll get a call later or not, but.
Well, because they're great salespeople. They can pitch it.
You know, you're right, because 9 out of 10 times I lose the contract because of my contract. Yeah. And 7 out of 10 times I lose because someone came in cheaper and never told the customer about all the extras they're going to juice them for at the end. But they got the job.
They don't tell them about all the extras because they probably don't know about the extras. They go price it. I'm going to do this basement, whatever it is. It's going to be 20 grand. And they're like, oh shit, I'm going to lose my shirt. I got to ask for more money now. They don't know. Maybe they don't know.
Okay, let's get right into it. I'm curious because you're a trim guy.
I am.
What color tools are we talking about
Oh
here?
boy. So I've got, I wouldn't say an array, but for certain things, I like certain things. So all my chop saws are green.
Makita?
Makita? No, Makita.
Oh, Makita. I thought it was Hitachi.
You know what? You got a good point because Hitachi is green, and I would say Makita's teal.
But they don't make tools anymore. They make toys.
Dun, dun, dun. Do they?
I take that back. I have
I'm
no
so
experience with
naive.
it whatsoever.
I'm so naive.
Okay, so the majority of them are Makitas?
My saws are Makitas.
That's
Nice.
funny because Gary from Mares, he's Makita as well.
Yep. They make a good saw. I've got the 7.5, the old school one, like very basic setup. It's pin straight. I adjust it once in a while and it things like a laser.
What kind of blades do you like?
I don't get too
You don't get into...
crazy about it.
Okay.
Because for that saw, the 7.5, they only make like 2 options and you have to buy a Makita model. I mean, unless you go to like some crazy place that manufactures these things. I can't find them anywhere.
Got it.
They're all 7.25 for a skill saw or 8-inch even for the 8-inch saws. But the 7.5 is a rare piece for some reason.
But there is something cool that you do about blades, something you passed on to me. One time I was throwing out a 120 tooth blade and
Why?
it was dull and it wasn't working.
Why?
And I had too much money.
It's not
and
a
I
razor
wasn't
blade.
thinking. No, you're right.
not
And
a
then
Gillette
Daniel
Mach
says to me,
3.
he goes, hey dude, can I have that blade? And I said, yeah, sure. And he goes, I'm going to get it sharpened for $9. And I'm like, give me that back. And then he took it to a place.
It
and
sat in my garage for about 1.5 years, and then I finally got around to it.
If you didn't break all the teeth, man, it's worth
But
sharpening.
even then, they can fucking fix them now.
Well,
you know
yeah,
what?
how many teeth you got to fix,
Yeah.
but...
But for the listeners, some people don't realize that you can spend $9 or you can spend $100.
12-inch blade, that size with that many teeth, you're going to spend $120 even.
Yeah, sorry, I had to add that in because you taught me that, and that was a great learning lesson for me.
I'm surprised that a lot of guys don't know that. I guess they just, it's not cutting well and just chuck it.
And honestly, maybe I've had some bad experiences with the sharpening route. I'm not completely sold on it yet. Like I've done it for years, but I still find out of the package, it's better.
Oh, 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of nice when you sharpen it and you take it, you get it back and you take off the little wax on
wax.
it. I love the wax.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Something about removing that wax.
Have you ever
It just-
left it on and run it through the wood?
No.
No? Neither have I.
What happened? Now I want to try it, man.
Can we pull one out of your truck right now? So keep going with the
table saw.
tools.
What are we doing table saw here?
Table saw.
Not a
I've got
Makita.
No, it's a DeWalt. They got
DeWalt.
That's
the
interesting.
best fence in the business.
Yeah, you know what? You're totally right. I
I
love.
disagree with you on that one.
I know because you love Bosch.
You know what? The Bosch is a phenomenal saw.
It's a good saw, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like anything
Their
that's.
stand is the best
gravity
shit.
stands are the best.
Oh my god.
I still have all my DeWalt stuff. I've never changed it, but I haven't really looked into it like that. The one thing I did do is I stayed with DeWalt because it had the pins in it, and my fence was always straight, and my wood would never push it.
Yeah.
That was the big thing for me because I used to use Rigid, and there was failure all the time.
Rigid?
Rigid. At my beginning stages.
What was that? Because the batteries from the Ryobi were charging? What's going on there, man?
You got to start
Go
somewhere.
back and forth. It was the same way with rigid.
I'm not saying that most of us haven't started from the bottom.
Oh, no, mind you, I had some rigid as
It's
well.
all personal preference, anyways. If you can make money with it, good for you.
When I first bought my first rigid kit, I was like, I'm in the fucking business.
I'm
now.
a pro.
I'm a fucking
pro.
pro. It's $300. I got 6 tools that'll fucking last me forever. Forget it.
And you're buying extra batteries because the batteries are dying, and
Horrible.
the battery sounds like a vacuum when you're charging it. I know, it's brutal.
I have a hammer drill, though, a corded hammer drill from Rigid. Since when I first started, when I was working at Home Depot, I bought it. It was like
Really?
$80. That thing fucking mixes cement, drills holes in concrete. It's almost caught fire, and it's still fucking running. I can still do anything with it.
We
but
all have the vacuum, the rigid vacuum.
I have the
Yeah,
cord.
actually,
that thing
you know what?
sucks, man.
That's one of the things I've
I
loved.
know. It's amazing.
I'll never say anything bad about the rigid vacuum.
What kind of pneumatic?
These are my babies. Pass load. But the old... Fuck, they're my babies. I don't even know their names. I think they're like LS 100
You
or
wouldn't
some
be the
shit.
first parent that.
Or the one, it's a 100. It's all metal construction. The new ones are all fucking plastic. They're
Not
garbage.
the cordless shit. This is all compressed,
Pneumatic,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, pneumatic,
Yeah,
right?
I don't use the cordless ones. I have a DeWalt.
You never got into that whole rage, man? Everybody's like fucking loving the cordless fucking nailers. They're all bullshit. I think they're garbage.
I have the 18 gauge DeWalt in the truck, and
Honestly, I love the DeWalt.
I use it literally for if I do a house of trim and I forget to put a fucking piece of doorstop on, I'm not going to load up the compressor again. I'll go grab that and just fire a few nails in. And that's it.
I know, but I've seen some guys pull out the little tiny mini Senso compressor, which takes like 2 seconds to build up.
But even then, I'm too fucking lazy to bring that back up.
It's true, though.
I have a little Makita compressor about that big as well. And that thing's a dream. It's
Is it?
quiet when they have kids in the house.
Yeah, for airbrushing.
Yeah.
What kind of glue are you?
Generally, like using LePage.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really,
I've dabbled with Tight Bond. There's, I like the thick stuff that they have. No real preference, no.
But you do 2-part epoxy too, spray.
I'll use the miter bond
miter
or
bond?
the equivalent. Yeah. We're giving away secrets now. So now for crown molding, inside corners, I have one type of glue. Outside corners, another type of glue. Joints, another type of glue.
That's not good. That's a great secret, but you're not giving out the glues.
Manny's not gonna like this, but it's one of my go-tos is when I do baseboards or crown molding. A lot of times in like places like condos or close to garages, like anywhere there's concrete or a surface that you can't really nail to, I always use your favorite liquid nails.
Are you fucking kidding
Yeah,
me?
so I put liquid nails on the top and the bottom. I squeeze it on, nail it, wipe it, and it's 2-in-1. So
What a fucking hack.
I know, eh? I know.
it sounds like it, but the finish is beautiful.
Liquid nails, man.
Yeah,
Really?
it saved me so many times. I've never had a callback. That's what I
Didn't
do.
you see how Tony did it, man? Where he drilled in and put a dowel and then drilled
But not
in.
everybody's Tony.
I'm just saying.
Who's
that's
Tony?
Another trim guy.
Tony. Who's this Tony?
He's my hairy friend.
Okay, let's move it on. So now 11 years of custom work. It was just all word of mouth?
Yeah, word of mouth, and I did a little bit of marketing online. I've taken Kijiji ads out when I've needed to, and honest to God, knock it all you want, but
It works.
it works. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It did. I don't know about now. I haven't done it in a while.
You don't need to do it now?
Not
You've
so
established
much.
yourself.
I believe that you should never stop marketing. Like you should always continue.
1,000%, man.
Like even if you think you've made it, just keep going.
Because you never know what kind of... I was always told, out of 10 customers, you don't know which one you're going to keep for life. You could have 10, but that one customer of that 10 will be
told you
for
that?
life. Just another contractor passed on. He said, hey, listen, take the small jobs and take the big jobs because you never know.
Was it
who's-
Tony?
No.
Tony? Was it Tony?
It was Tony. Hey, we could do this because he's Italian. Dun, 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 dun.
We got Daniel and Manuel.
And what the fuck would he be?
Carl.
Carl. Hey, Carl, come here, Carl.
Listen,
Stupid guy.
before we get off the tools, what are your hand tools?
Hand tools.
I'm curious because I know that you have a variety of tools. I want to know what your skill saw is, your reciprocating saw, your impact
Yeah,
gun.
so that's all DeWalt. All my cordless stuff is DeWalt.
I thought you meant hand tools. Hand tools.
No, but that was...
Power hand tools are one category.
so?
Cordless is DeWalt. We'll go with that. And then I don't use this coping foot or any of that.
You don't use
jigs.
that?
No. Fucking
How are
way.
you doing your miters then on crown?
My miters are mitered. I cut my crown molding flat on the saw, but I'm talking like more so baseboard when I'm coping.
You don't cope?
I cope. But I cope like the old school way. I cut
hand.
the 45 and I cut it by hand.
You're using a coping saw,
Coping
a
saw.
hand coping
All
saw.
day
That's
long.
what I've been doing.
Why don't you use a jigsaw with a coping foot?
I just don't believe in it. It's a fucking sin.
Really?
Yeah, I watch guys
That's
do
interesting.
it. I watch guys do it online almost every day. Good for them. They figured out another way to do it to show off or whatever it is. But I look at it and I'm like, I can do that probably 4 seconds faster with a fucking coping saw.
Get out of here.
Swear to God. And it's the same result. I don't use a sanding pad on a grinder, the coping foot. I've seen these big jigs where you slide the baseboard in and you router out the profile of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
use it. Coping saw. Look, that's the way I was taught.
Coping saw.
Right or wrong, it's just my way of doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking these
No,
guys.
no, no,
That's,
no.
you know,
It's a good way to do it. But yeah, you're right. A lot of guys come out and like hear all the new tricks.
yeah, I don't need all the new gadgets and all that, you know.
Daniel taught me another big trick that we use all the time too, and I wasn't open to it, but he cuts his miters at 46 until you showed me that.
Shut up.
But now everybody's doing it.
It's no
The
secret.
red
Yeah,
light's
they're
on.
fucking
What's
doing
going
it.
on? The red light's on, man.
You wait like this every time.
For those people that can't see, Daniel's waving, no.
But yeah, outside corners, I cut a little sharp. But I don't think that's a big secret. I think a lot of guys do that.
No, but it does make a huge
It
difference.
makes 100%.
Massive
But
difference.
I just don't think it's a big trade secret.
But to a kid who's getting started out, he'd be like, I never
yeah,
thought
I never
about
thought
that.
of that. Yeah, exactly.
What do you like for nails for baseboards?
Length?
Nails?
Yeah. What gauge?
Well, it depends. If the baseboard's 3/4,
Again, length?
yeah, you're
Or-
going to use
I'm
what,
always
16, 2.5?
I'm never using 16 on trim
On baseboards?
or casing
10-inch
or
baseboards?
crown.
Or crowns.
18 all the way.
Wow.
18 at 2 inches?
18 at 2 inches. If I'm using a 5/8 space, I'll go 1.75 inches.
Really?
Well, I like that you're going
Why
2
won't you
inches.
use 16 gauge?
I think it's just too big of a hole. You don't need it. I've never had a failure because of the gauge of the nail, so I'm not gonna.
No callbacks.
No.
No blowouts.
Never.
Yeah, obviously a smaller hole.
Do you
Yeah.
like the
never.
pin nailers?
Pin nailers I'll use for small panel molds. That's it.
Last year I bought my Grex
How do you
2-inch.
like it?
I've never had a problem with it, man.
What
I've
about
heard
the
I don't
band?
use it as much as you guys, but I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah.
And I remember Tony, he had another green gun, cost the same amount,
Yeah.
and problem after problem after problem after problem.
Pin nailers like 23 gauge.
Yeah, he fucking hated it.
But installing what? Baseboard?
No, he was doing it for, I don't know what he was doing it for,
Back band.
trim or something like that. Yeah, he was doing it for something, but the gun was always sticking. The only cool thing about the gun, it had an air release on it, so you can actually use it to
the
just
blower?
blow it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I was like, that's worth $400.
You know what though? I've never been a big. I used to be a Bostage guy, but I've gone also to DeWalt. Because
like my
find that
Grex, man.
It doesn't. I don't. You know what?
I've never had a problem with them.
You're the only person that's enjoyed
Maybe
them.
I like them because of the color. I like that fucking cheesy lime green color, man. But the guns, for me, they work really well. Never had a problem with the 18, 16 pin. Never. But I don't use it as much as you guys, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
What about your saw? What do you use for saw?
Bosch.
Even chop saw?
Yeah.
Everything's Bosch on this man. Even
No,
his
not
underwear.
everything. No,
He's
listen,
got Speedos that are Bosch.
I love my fine Multimaster. I have one of the original ones with the 15 foot cord. 15 foot cord.
Cord, yeah.
I have the very original one, which cost me $500 to buy, and it was beautiful, and I still use it to this day. Variable speed. Love that tool. It's amazing. I'm still a huge fan of my Makita belt sander, low profile.
Yeah, love it.
421. I love that one. I also love their grinder. But I also love Bosch has introduced a variable grinder cordless, which I think is amazing. So I've got a variety of tools. But yeah, most of them are blue. Yeah, sure. Most of them are Bosch. I agree with you.
For all my wainscoting, I use the Makita also, a 10-inch sander, flat square. That's bulletproof because I see guys with orbitals.
10-inch sander?
Yeah.
Makita makes one?
It's
Yeah.
not 10-inch. It's
Today?
7.
10? I thought it was 10.
It's 7, dude.
Maybe I am wrong. Sorry.
I don't know if anybody has a 10-inch one.
It's the belt sander?
No,
No,
no.
Just
no.
a belt sander and wainscot?
A vibrating,
Yeah.
a flat sander.
So
right?
I find that it levels or trues up things better when I see an orbital or I see a small little square palm.
But what happens when you get into a situation where the panel mold sticks out past the MDF surface of the stiles? You're going to be hitting that thing all kinds, right?
Well,
You gotta hand sand it.
Yeah, I usually make a block and then I put some sand on there. Or at Lee Valley, I've bought a lot of those rubber pads with different. So I'll kind of squeeze in between there. I use a razor blade or an X-Acto knife for a lot of my stuff too.
Carl's taught me a shit ton about finishing, like more than probably anybody in terms of spending the time
Thanks, buddy.
after the fact to go around and touch everything up.
Because you're one step away from the finish.
Right. And I've never really looked at it in the sense that I need to prep for the painter. It's always been I need to get my job done. After working with Carl, he's a expert painter. If you've ever seen him spray, him going over with me how to prep the joints, the order to sand things in, just to make their life easier. There's a lot of little details I never paid attention to that this guy was like. I even see my posts, I credit him on a lot of those things.
Yeah, and he doesn't call me and give me any more work.
No.
He takes it all.
Yeah, that's it. I was one of those guys, buddy.
That's
Fuck
how
you.
it is. That's how it is. That brings us to our midway point of our show here. We have something new that we've been doing lately.
It's the building code.
No!
It's
What time is it?
It's building code time.
No!
It's not?
Green Book.
Oh, I thought we were doing Green Book at the end.
Oh, is that what we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, never mind. Let's start all over, okay? So we got something to do that's midway through the show.
It's building code time.
So Carlito here is code.
It's code time.
We were rehearsing this the whole time while we were waiting for you.
You guys fucking
and we
nailed
totally
it. Nailed it.
Fucked it all up.
We'll get it over the next few.
It is code time. Well, Carlito, what do you want to talk about the building code today?
Since we have Vella here,
Oh, yeah, here's another question.
Why don't we ask him something along the staircase? What lines? Well, I'll give it to you. Hand it to you.
So-
I gotta go.
No, we made it easy for the first one out. What is the minimum width of stairs?
dun 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 dun
32 inches.
dun dun.
It is 36 inches.
Oh, I thought you meant from the stairs to the crown molding was the minimum.
The crown molding.
Crown molding. No?
No, so it's 36. So now we know it's 36.
So that's twice we put you on
I was
the spot.
testing you, Carl. I was testing you. I
So
knew that.
back to our regular schedule show.
So basically, I hate saying basically. I've been saying that for so many years. You're really well known for your crown molding. In my world, you're the crown molding specialist, coffered ceilings, and wainscot. That's what you have become today.
It's my baby.
But you've always done renovations, from framing to drywall to mudding to.
I still do. Like I'll take a
Complete
bathroom
renos.
once in a while, or I don't get into anything too big in terms of renos. I just
Yes, you have. We've done point loads together.
I have, but I try to stay away from it.
What's your least favorite trade?
There's always the tapers.
The tapers.
Well, not even the tapers, but the guys sanding it at least. If they're not the tapers, it's the guys behind them
I
sanding.
thought it was generally the guy whoever's taping and sanding is his
Generally, yeah, but that's what I
responsibility.
mean, though. If it's the tapers, whoever's sanding their work, if it's them or their buddy, who cares? They got the shittiest job.
You feel sorriest for that person.
Yeah, that I'm not going home like that.
Actually, I
know
actually
it
like
does all the
sanding
time.
because painting's so important to me in the
Yeah.
finish that I don't want anyone to sand because I actually take a lot of pride with it. You got a Festool, don't you?
Yeah.
Now
sand?
that thing is a game changer.
Yeah.
For wall surfaces,
Yes.
you need a NASA training certificate.
No, you're right, Manny.
MIT. Yeah.
No, Manny, there is an art to it. You're totally right.
For the ceilings?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And I'm sorry, but the harness does not work.
it does for me.
I don't use the harness.
There's been pinch points that on my body, I'm like, I didn't even know I had that part on my
That's
body.
your age.
No, it's not my age, man. The way this harness is set up, it moves the weight a certain way to a certain place, and it just becomes very uncomfortable.
And it's always centered in your crotch. Right?
Yeah.
It's not comfortable.
Yeah, but the trick is to turn up the suction because that suction is going to suck it up. So
that
what
thing
I do
is
is
supposed to be really easy, and it's easy for walls, and it's very difficult for
I know,
ceilings.
but you know what? I used to use poles and sanding
So
blocks.
you use the Festool Plane X all the time on ceilings?
on everything.
And
yeah,
never
any,
have an
any
issue.
wall surface, any
Never.
ceiling surface.
What about
So-
inside corners? You get in there tight with that?
Well,
thing?
they,
what I
they
do-
have the little bar that you can remove,
Yeah,
right?
so I do that. I do my own mudding, so my corners are pretty well perfect for what I need. But what I'll do is I'll go through the whole house and I'll use the Festool. I'll leave it on 2 and I'll keep the suction at 6. I have the turbo on the top.
I just wanted to say that you realize that this is a trim and carpentry show.
Sorry, we got on the Festool.
I actually did,
It was the drywall talk.
quickly. I did my own place. I had painted stucco ceilings on the second floor, even the main floor. but
Painted stucco
painted
ceilings.
stucco, probably 20 years worth of paint on there.
Ouch.
The Plane X with was a 40 grit. Pour that shit
Boom,
right off.
Gone.
Beautiful.
But you don't care about gouging the drywall. You don't care about damaging stuff.
Honestly, there was very little In terms of repairs, I skimmed the entire thing
Afterwards?
but it wasn't like I was tearing paper
Durabond?
off. Like, I did Durabond.
Nice.
I primed it first.
Again,
Beautiful oil base.
Oil-based primer first.
I love it.
You realize
Sorry.
this is a trim and carpentry show.
We better get back to
But
trim.
what I'm saying is it set up a nice base for my crown molding.
Got it.
Toners there.
Got it.
Manny really loves real wood, his poplar. I'm an MDF guy.
I love a pop.
What do you like and what don't you like to use for crown molding?
Crown molding, I'm almost exclusively using MDF, except for when specific jobs require it to be a wood profile or the client asks for it. Casing baseboards, wood, every time.
Why don't you use MDF casing baseboards?
I don't like what nails do to it.
Mushrooms.
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 And generally they're
I
getting
love
painted with,
mushrooms.
painted with a semi or an eggshell, whereas the crown is
Satin.
generally a flat ceiling paint where
Yeah.
it hides every imperfection. For the casing, I can't stand the look of it.
Carlito, you're an MDF.
Listen, if
Casing
everyone
guy.
could afford poplar, I would rather see them go poplar for sure. But a lot of my customers are, like I said, blue collar, white collar customers. They can't afford that. So I would rather take that money and invest it into a wainscot wall or do some crown detail.
But you're different though. You're going to spend the time to fix whatever those nails do to that trim.
Yeah.
That's you. Like
That's right.
Most guys are not going to spend that kind of time on it.
You
can
and me-
make it look like
But
glass.
you and me
right?
have had a few problems before. One time, Daniel was kind enough to come and help me on a flip project that I was on. And we built a kitchen from Habitat for Humanity. We built a wine rack together. He taught me how to do that.
Is it cedar?
No, it was just poplar. It was
Poplar.
Painted, yeah.
Oh, you painted.
Yeah.
That was a great experience. Beautiful wine rack. And then he decided to get me to use wood for the crown molding. And I'm telling you,
No,
had
I didn't select that. That was
Glenn.
either Glenn or you.
Yeah, I think it was Glenn.
Well,
Yeah,
here's
that's
the
right.
question, Carlito. Do you actually like working more with poplar or MDF? Or is it because you're basing your decision on
Price.
the clients choosing their price?
If I have the time and the budget's there, poplar for sure.
Time. What do you mean
guaranteed.
time? It doesn't take longer to work poplar than
You got to
MDF.
finesse it. There's other things that people don't talk about with poplar. Like, because I'm a finisher, a lot of times you can buy poplar and it's still green. And sometimes you need to wait 3 to 4 months before you paint it. I've sprayed poplar and it's so fresh and green that even though it was delivered to me,
I think it's the supplier that,
it
you're
bleeds.
dealing with.
The actual sap because a lot of people think that poplar is a tree. It's actually a bush.
Poplar's a bush?
Yeah, it's actually a bush.
didn't know that.
It bleeds, and I would spray, 2 or 3 beautiful coats of primer and 2 beautiful or 3 coats of paint onto the baseboards or casings. And 2 weeks later, when it starts to it starts to dry out, it's coming to the surface. It's coming through the paint. And then I get a phone call, and there's like, hey man, it's green. And I'm like, oh my God, it was so fresh because they're not letting it dry.
Why is it every time a client of yours calls you, they always say, hey man?
That's me.
Because he's probably spent months in their house and he rubbed off on them.
Well, I usually move
Hey,
into
man.
people's places.
Hey man.
And that's why I like MDF because it's already pre-primed. Hey man, I want to use MDF.
Are there not primers you could use?
That's what I was about to say,
no.
but I didn't want to get into
No,
a paint talk.
I actually use for poplar.
I'm just taking the exit here on Wood Drive.
No, I actually use a special primer.
It's
from
not the
Sherwin
poplar
Williams.
root.
Thanks.
You know what it is about MDF to me? I think in our youth, something always happens. We see something or we experience something and it just points us in a certain direction. So you can apply this to everything in your life. And I think one day I saw a certain race. I'm not going to say names here because then I'll get in trouble.
Too late.
Just taking 12-foot long, banana fucking Lamar from Revenge of the Nerds flexing MDF casing and slapping it on the top of his Civic. And it just jarred my mind. And it just I looked at it and I was like that's the going inside a house? I don't get that. That just looks cheap and flimsy and garbage and crappy. And this guy didn't care about it, how it went on the roof, tied it with twine, and then got to the job site. And I'm like, that's disgusting to me because I've never seen anybody treat poplar like that.
You should see me load MDF crown molding into my truck.
You're careful
I
with
have
it.
a plank.
I can believe
I
that.
have blankets.
I can
shrink
believe
wrap.
that.
But going back to what Manny was saying, Daniel, The one thing I do like about it is that it flexes. It takes contour.
But your
it
walls
takes
are
shape.
straight.
I know, but what I wanted to say to you was when we were working with the poplar, this was the example I was bringing up in this kitchen. It took so much time to twist it. The poplar wants to take its own form. So even after a while, it wants to pull away.
Where are you getting the poplar from, man?
And there's lots of cracking and crown molding with real wood.
No, this particular house, there was a lot of little corners with cabinets, and there was a lot of fitting to do, we'll call it, because the ceiling was so out. So with MDF, yes, you can push and pull, and you're going to see it, though. That's the only downside. With the wood, if we installed it true, nice and level, you're going to be skimming that ceiling for weeks.
Back to your point, I would think, Carlito, that if you had a house and you're putting wood crown molding and the ceiling is off, you would actually install it to make the molding perfectly true and skim it.
Right.
Because that's the ceiling. The ceiling's off. So you skim it. I have no problem skimming it.
Yeah, I have no problem. I skim everything out.
But as a trim guy, I'm not going to a house to tell somebody, right or wrong, that when I'm done doing your job, you need to call a taper in to skim out your ceiling. It's a different story,
yeah,
right?
exactly. If you're the GC, you already have all the trades all lined up and
It's
you're
different,
working
yeah.
with them. Yeah, totally.
But while we're talking about crown molding, I use styrofoam. And you and me have done styrofoam.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever used it. And ever since then, I fell in love with it.
It's beautiful. Do you like it?
I can do it in
The
condos.
look of
I
it's
can
great,
do it in
but,
houses.
yeah.
There's no cracking.
I'm actually leaning back towards. I met a guy who does the original plaster, but he does the moldings. He builds them the same way that the styrofoam guys do, but it gives him that flexibility where
Yeah,
he
I
can
love
use the
that.
mud. And
Yeah.
I was like blown away by that stuff.
See, I look at that as a different trade altogether.
That's a
completely
different
different trade.
That's a different
Like,
animal.
Yeah.
I know.
I totally respect plaster. I love plaster.
Here's a question that I haven't asked a trim guy yet.
Let's hear it.
And it's always an interesting thought to get their opinion about it. When you're in a kitchen, you've got crown throughout the whole house, and the clients have chosen a specific crown profile.
Oh, yeah.
You see where this is going, right? Does that crown trump the cabinetry and it becomes the crown of the cabinetry? Or do you go with the kitchen manufacturer's crown, which does not match the same profile as the rest of the house crown?
Oh, that's tough.
Or
dude.
do you tell the kitchen manufacturer to mill the same crown as the rest of the house?
So it depends on what stage we go in at. If we're working in a reno and we have access to the kitchen company, to have this discussion ahead of time, then great. We can use the same profile, same size, continuous all the way through. Then the other problem is color. Where do you break it, right?
That's the other question I had, yeah.
A lot of times, if it's a stain, you're kind of shit out of luck. You have a color break, or you convince them not to do the kitchen. Your kitchen has its own personality, its own character on the cabinets. Leave it alone. You're going to see that line between the
But
paint.
what if it's open concept?
Hopefully, we're in at that stage where we can have that discussion with the kitchen
Manufacturer.
And then they mill it and make it the same.
Yeah.
That, I think, is the best solution, but it's also, funny enough, the most expensive
Yep.
solution.
Yeah, but that's what we did at my last flip. We made sure that the crown molding was exactly the same in the kitchen
Yeah.
and throughout the whole house. And it made a huge difference.
And sometimes we'll even
But
do
you are
it
right when
if
you're
it's-
staining.
If it's the same color, like if your cabinets are white, it happens to be CC40 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
to match the ceiling. The only difference between the crown on the cabinets and the rest of it is the sheen.
I hate CC40.
How about
I'm just as an
CC30?
example, yeah.
I hate all of them. I just can't stand them all.
Cloud
Chantilly
white.
lace and cloud white and all this other shit. This show is brought to you by Benjamin Moore.
Cloud white.
No, because you could still get those from Sherwin-Williams.
No. They color match them.
Yeah, that's right.
Are you a fan of the song and dance around the toilet supplies?
Say it again?
So the trim that makes it go up and miter or go down, or doing all these elaborate miters to go around the toilet supply.
Yes.
You're a fan of it?
I am.
He's not a fan. I'm pointing at Carlito.
I'm not.
No?
I am.
It's a couple different ways.
Get out.
Some, I have some photos if you'd like to see them.
You know what? I've done them all.
Have you done them all?
Yeah.
Have you gone down below the...
That's
I
nice
have.
too.
I like that
that's
one.
nice too.
The one that goes up and over is kind of, it's hit and miss. Some people like it, some people don't. It's a little more aggressive.
Yes.
Where if you go down like on a 15-degree angle, just enough to clear the discussion plate.
So for me, the big one that changes that or really makes me decide what I'm going to do there is where the actual supply is supposed to be for the toilet. Every supply is different for every toilet.
But
Typically,
it's funny, plumbers always tell you that they put it where they want to put
No,
it. They have
no.
the same number.
Can I just
not
make a
at all.
comment on that?
Go ahead.
So I did this scenario in someone's house. I posted it online, whatever. People liked it. You get this one fucking idiot. It's like, Why didn't the plumber move the supply line? The house was fucking built in 1982, you asshole.
And they actually sound like that too.
Yeah, like, you fucking loser.
It's true.
It's funny how a lot of these keyboard warriors, these trolls out there, they just don't want to think about the whole thought process. Yeah. They think that you just showed up there, you blinked once, and you made that decision right then and there.
And they think I built the fucking house.
I know.
Like, why didn't you move the supply line?
It's like there's a lot of variables attached or around, behind, next to this photograph or video.
Yeah, if you're the trim guy and you're going around doing trim, you're not building the whole bathroom.
Yeah. And if you saw how many times I had to cut that piece, I wouldn't have this fucking business, okay?
So going back to it, the question is, I typically don't. I like to have a 7 1/4 inch baseboard. That's the smallest I like. I don't like anything smaller than that.
I know, but if the rest of the house has got a 4 or 5 inch, you can't all of a sudden just change it for the back of the toilet.
Well, that's where you have to kind of negotiate. You know, a toilet, like a bathroom, can be its own identity. It doesn't have to be with the rest of the house.
I disagree.
Also.
The moment you start changing trim in different rooms, then you become a trim showroom.
Yep.
I like trim showrooms.
I kind of agree. I like to see it the same everywhere.
It should continue. So if it should continue and your client's giving you a task that it's only this high and your supply line, the crosshairs are certain, they're actually going on the trim's profile, you have to do the song and dance, either go down below. I agree with you that the below looks a little cleaner, nicer, simpler. I do.
And so what is your preference?
Below.
I prefer to go below. Yeah.
So you like to be in the middle of the baseboard?
No.
No.
The baseboard dances around that pipe. Yeah. So
I see. You like the 22.5
I don't
around
think
it.
that plate should be anywhere near any kind of curved curved profile.
Okay.
It should be on a full flat stock of something.
Right. 100%. And not even 22.5. I find that even that angle
It's too much.
is too much. I go 15. It's just subtle enough to like
Trade secret.
trade secrets. Once
The
again,
red light's on.
No. Once again, try it. You're not gonna fucking get it. I promise you.
Don't DM. Okay, don't DM him. All right, leave him alone.
Carl Pavlovic at
Yes, exactly.
No, you know what though? For me, when it comes to accenting the valve, I like to put the chrome piece on the copper. That's as far as I go.
That's cute. You can do that. Or sand it.
It's like a little diamond. Dink.
Back to the size of the baseboard and changing it in the house. Like some people ask me just because they don't want to spend the money or they think for some reason that the second floor is less superior to the main floor.
Oh,
Can we do
Really?
a different profile up there or the same one but smaller upstairs? I don't even like that. Like,
Yeah, I don't either.
Just
that's track builder
fucking
action.
make a decision. Like,
I know.
You know?
Are you a fan of the no returns? All these new.
The no returns.
Well,
I've
there's
seen
no
this.
casing, no baseboard. It's all 1/2 inch reveals.
Yeah.
1/4 inch reveals. Yeah, I've even seen them as small as an 1/8 inch reveal.
I've done it.
Tedious.
It's tedious for sure.
It's a good look.
Yeah. And it helps if the
It
builder's
has
good.
its place. It has its place.
But the problem I have is that people are forgetting, and I'm going to be pointing fingers at designers. They're forgetting the purposes of these pieces of trim.
Yeah.
A chair rail, people, it's called a chair rail because back in the day, people would move the chair and hit the plaster and crack it. And that would prevented it from cracking.
I've read. I was gonna say I've read
this
otherwise.
is good.
What's that? What have you read?
No, just in terms of the height.
The height? Yeah, no, it depends. Okay, first of all, way back when people were shorter,
Right.
it just changed,
But
right?
in the same article, it was kind of. Again, I don't know where it was or when I read it, but it was that chair rail height would have been way too low for any chair.
Oh, I know.
And that was proper at the time, right? So now it's whatever 32, 36, wherever you know.
I'm usually around that.
I think
same
what you got to
one.
do if they do want a specific chair rail, you actually have to inquire with them. Okay, where are your chairs?
Yeah.
we need to look at your chairs.
A lot of people put MDF in bathrooms.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, come
Why-
on.
why?
What is that? I'm
Why?
not asking you. I know you use poplar in bathrooms.
Yeah.
Laundry rooms, kitchens, and bathrooms should always be poplar.
bedrooms, kitchens, always landings.
Well, there's water.
Garage. I put it in the garage.
Garage.
The cantina.
The cantina.
Where we had the prosciutto with Tony.
Well, how about wainscoting? What's your preference? There's so many different styles. What do you like seeing?
In terms of material, I'm a wood guy for wainscoting for sure. If we're talking applied moldings,
But you're using all the flat stock you're using at MDF.
MDF, yeah.
And then you're using any kind of poplar trim pieces to accent
chair
depending
rail,
on
panel molds,
chair rail.
whatever.
everything.
Why is that? more
for strength
pronounced?
It's that there's definitely more options, but it's right in the line of fire, like you were going back to
In the line of
well,
fire.
for the purpose of these things.
There's
right?
a purpose behind everything,
Yeah.
man.
Even when somebody insists on using MDF baseboard, I tell them use a wood shoe mold, because when you're mopping that floor, you don't
You're
want
so right.
I was
That's
just gonna-
brilliant.
That's where I was going with the new returns and the new modern look.
That's
drywall's gonna
brilliant.
get smashed.
yeah. So in about 5 years, it's going to get wrecked.
Yeah.
Do you like to see 4 boxes, 3 boxes, 2 boxes, 1 box?
Depends on the house. Depends on the personality.
What changes that, and when do you take that? Like, how do you figure that preference out?
Most of the time when I show up at someone's house, they have an idea of what they want already.
They already designed
Yeah.
it.
So they'll have either photographs or sketch that their 4-year-old did or whatever it is.
Crayons.
This is what we want. Can you make it happen?
Are you a fan of Colonial?
It's classy if it's done right.
It's got its place.
Classy?
If he does it, it's gonna come out classy. Do you build any buildings anymore, or are you leaving that for someone else now? You
No,
leaving
I'll-
that for the kitchen guys, or
So my issue is shop space. I don't have a place where I'm building furniture or cabinets on a regular basis.
we used to do it in your garage, man.
I used to do it on site. Build them on site.
I know, but winters, man. How
Yeah,
do you
it's
do winters?
tough, right? So it just got to the point where I was like, yeah, the money's there, but it's so much hassle. With the winter, you're cutting in the garage. Everything's coated.
so
Yeah.
you'll sub that out.
Yeah, we'll sub it out if
Yeah.
if it's part of a bigger job, we're going to do it. It's not a question of whether or not I'm going to take it. It's just if I'm busy with other stuff, then yeah, I'm going to avoid.
No, because you're being a smart business person like that.
That's-
man.
yeah.
That's all it is. man.
When and where do you stop with wainscot?
In the house?
Yeah, where and when do you stop? I've started it in a hallway, so like I
Yeah.
convince a customer and I say, "Let me do your front hall here," where you walk into your house, and then all of a sudden I do it, and then they go, "Oh my God, can you do my niche?
Yeah.
Can you do the rest of the hallway? Can you do the staircase?" And then it just continues and it doesn't stop. So where do
Yeah.
you stop it?
You're right. It depends on, again, a lot of times I go in, they know what they want already.
But they don't have a proper vision until we
Right.
show them.
Right. So most of the time I want the hallway done and the dining room. Those are the two that are like, I want to jazz those up a bit, make them look, classier,
You ever do bathrooms with them?
Not often, no. Honestly, no. But,
Actually, wait a second. You did a bathroom for me, didn't you?
Wainscoting?
Yeah, you did. You did the coffered ceiling that last house with me and Mikey. You did the dining room with the X's or the
Yes.
diamonds,
Yes.
and then you did the bathroom, and it came out wicked.
That was, more paneling, not so much wainscoting, but yeah,
It can look really sexy, man.
it can. Where you start and where you stop really depends on the
Budget?
layout of the house and the budget as well. But like a lot of times, the most challenging area is around the stairs. Like if they have, for example, a handrail that kind of dies at
Yeah.
a balcony, like how do you make that? So
do
there's
you
different
make
ways
it
to do
work?
it depending on the type of molding you're using. If it's recessed panel, raised panel applied, there's different ways to do it. Yeah.
How do you like those trim garbage? Trim garbage. Trim garbage, crap stuff that looks like chair rail and wainscoting and all this other trim.
Oh,
bullshit.
plastic ones from.
Yeah. How do you
Okay.
like those ones?
I've never worked with it. Trimtex, it's called.
Trimtex.
Did they make that flat stock as well? It's exterior.
I think so. What's up, Mark?
Yeah, baby.
I'm gonna lock my truck.
brother?
How you doing,
John,
buddy?
Daniel. What's going on, man?
You guys recording now? Or?
No, we're still recording. Yeah.
Handsome bastard.
No. What do you think of that stuff?
I've never worked with it. Couldn't
Oh,
tell you.
okay.
Yeah.
No, because
It's changed my life. Honestly, it
Really?
really has. I know many don't want to hear
Sorry,
about
what
it.
is it? It's just
It's for
Plastic
mudding,
molding?
and what you can do is it has its place. It shouldn't be in trim. You're right.
That's my point.
But when it comes, like the actual company and the product is brilliant, but they've taken it too far. It just means that wood should be where wood should be.
Thank you very much.
And mudding corner beads and stuff
Thank you
should
very
be
much.
with mudding.
Thank you very much.
I do agree with that.
Do they
Okay.
make that stuff where you peel that plastic thing out of it?
Yeah, it's tear away.
Okay,
Yeah, so
It's
that's
changed my
a
life.
good product.
Right.
That's a
Brilliant.
great product.
Brilliant.
But stay away from the chair rail and the wainscoting and crown.
I didn't even know they made that stuff.
Oh, they made all that crap, man. And everybody on Instagram jumped all over going, this is amazing. It's amazing.
I know you guys have hit Instagram topics quite a bit. I'd love to dive into it.
Let's
I got-
talk.
No,
Yeah,
I mean
let's-
like not necessarily.
But
right
before
now,
we get
but
into
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
before we get into that, we have to, it's
Green Book. It's Green Book time. So, Manny, what is Green Book time?
Green Book time is that we're going to basically share a lot of the occupational health and safety acts and the fines that are associated if you're not complying with these rules. Our podcast is about information. We like meeting people, talking to people, learning things, sharing information, but it is called the Construction Life. So anything to do with the construction life, which is including the Health and Safety Act, we want to talk about it. We want to let you guys know what it's all about so then you guys can know about these things, because I, like myself, like you, everybody, probably never even touched this book for a while.
Honestly, dude, I have 3 of them in my truck right now.
So which one do you want to talk about?
Let's do...
See you, man. Thanks, Mark.
Later, Mark.
You're not going to quiz me again, are you?
No.
No, this is between us. This is between us.
We're at section 26.2-4. Employer failing to make training and instructions record available to inspector. So that means if you don't have any of your records for any of your employees or yourself in the business, your first fine, and this is a brand new law, is $550 for the first event.
$550, ladies and gentlemen.
So that means, guys, have your WSIB, have your WMIS, have your fall arrest, have everything that you need to have.
Perfect. That was
Green Book time.
back to our regular scheduled program. Talking wood, and we're going to get right into Instagram and social media.
Oh, I wanted to talk about coffered ceilings a little bit.
No.
Okay.
Look where we're at. Where we're at.
All right.
Either speak faster or get to the point.
Okay.
We built boxes, put crown inside of it, paint it, and it's beautiful.
You know what? It's because you veered off the paint land and plaster land.
Yeah,
that's why.
Sorry.
So that's the reason why.
It comes together. It's all one.
What are your thoughts on social media these days? Evil machine?
Yeah.
I've actually called it evil on this show before.
Yeah.
Okay, but for
What reasons? What are your reasons? Why do you think it's evil?
I think everybody has learned how to make more money pretending to be contractors than actually being contractors. A select few want to stay on that path and be leaders in this industry without lifting a finger. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
Free tools. Look at
You
me.
don't need to put your hand up in the podcast.
Before we ask you, I really want to say something I hate about Facebook and Instagram and contractors posting stuff. Post your fucking own shit. Don't take someone else's pictures and post them on your site and pretend that you actually did the work, because you didn't. So
I can't believe that still goes on. That's crazy.
yeah,
It does.
You know what? You shouldn't be proud of someone else doing work for you, unless you are saying you're a GC and you're actually just overviewing the construction. Don't take the credit for it.
See, that's the whole problem I have, is that everybody wants to make that little photograph and that little video look perfect.
Yeah.
They don't want to show the shit that's on the real sites. They don't want to show the shit that's going on behind the scenes, because contractors get screwed over, money gets fucked over. You get all this other, and it's never talked about. It's always talked about how fast this drill can drill. It's always talked about how beautiful this work is done that's not finished. It's always like, there's a particular trim guy out there who's got a page who's always showing close-ups of trim. Never shows the full work. And I'm like, I don't get it. And I'm always seeing the same profile. And I don't get it. So I don't follow it. But I saw his post and I saw the guys shout out and go, hey, check out this. I go, where's the rest of the fucking room?
I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
Where's the fucking rest of the room? I don't understand why the rest of the room is not being shown. And why isn't the finishing being shown?
Yeah.
I don't understand why this. I don't get this guy.
There's one particular cut he's snapping into place.
Perfect every time.
Thumbs up.
But
Beautiful.
But that leads to bigger problems. Things like that, homeowners are very naive to. Contractors and guys in construction, they know the truth and they know the real deal about the whole picture thing. When I'm at a customer's house and they only see perfection on Instagram, it's almost hard sometimes to be able to leave a house without letting them know that, hey, you chose real wood and there's imperfections in real wood. Things happen to real wood.
That's onus on the actual tradesperson, the GC, to explain all this stuff to homeowners. We get this. It's the same thing with stone. Whenever a homeowner wants to go with natural stone, I always tell them, listen, guys, Mother Nature made this. And Mother Nature is not a factory, and she can decide what she wants to do.
And the imperfections are the beauty part of it. That's the natural part.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that part.
So what do you hate about it?
I agree with all those points you guys have touched on. Like I said, I can't believe that still goes on to the point where, like, if someone used to work for a company and decided to go off on their own, they're one of those guys that take photos that they were a part of while working with another company and pass it out. Even if you may have done that part of that work, but that's not your job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
But here's the thing.
A lot of guys do that.
You've got, I think the last count I checked, I think you've got 1,200 caricatures
Yeah.
that you can type in.
to say this.
And I can't stand people that take the full credit for stuff that they haven't done.
Right.
Every single post of mine, if there's someone that's working in that picture, I try to give out all the shout outs to every single person. They did it. They did it. They did it. I oversaw it. I designed it. I got the material. I delivered it. Whatever. I'll share the justified handles and the comments. Don't just put a pretty picture in and go, oh, this is your company now and this is my work. And no, give shout outs to fucking guys who did the work, man.
Yeah, the craziest part is they'll actually say, I did this. And they've had no part to do with it at all.
Yeah. Or hire us, look what we can do kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
Instagram and construction changed dramatically. Like it's changed since day one 4 years ago when everybody got on board. And I've said this before.
You're totally right.
Where everybody was on a level playing field, and then there was a percentage of the guys that were getting more followers, and it just grew. And then those guys, they became assholes to everybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this became like high school all over again.
Yeah.
And I got so sick and tired of it. And I'm like close to 50. And I'm like, dude, you can't pressure me. You can't peer pressure me. You can't bully me. You can't fucking do anything to me that's going to hurt my fucking feelings, man. If you want to set up a stupid hate page or you want to talk shit about me, go ahead and do
that
it.
happen? That's happened.
All the fucking time, man.
Man, he's like a magnet.
He knows how many fucking friends I have out there. There's lots of fucking assholes out there, right? And that's what I hate about it. But I just keep laughing. I'm like, go ahead and say whatever you want.
That's the thing. That's the attitude you kind of have to have. If you, it gets talked about all the time. If you get too consumed with all that shit, it's such a waste of time.
Yeah.
I haven't posted stuff in a while. Like the last thing I posted was something about virtue signaling.
No, I actually saw you post some of the wainscoting you did. You did single panel, and it was deep. I loved it. It was thick and
How
deep.
deep?
It looked like it was like an inch deep. It was really nice.
It's only 5/8.
Really?
Why would it be an inch? I don't understand.
Your
why you
camera work is good.
See, it's all fucking bullshit. And look,
Was it only 5/8?
yeah, it's 5/8.
Wow.
And look at my captions. All it said, literally, I post like a picture of like a beautiful job. Sometimes I do beautiful work. Sometimes.
You always do beautiful
And
work.
all I write was, did this, doing that, have a good night. That's it. Like, I'll put a bunch of hashtags and like, fuck off.
You know what?
That's
Next time, just put done.
Done. My last one I posted was yup.
I was expecting you to say perfect.
Perfect. No, I never say it's perfect.
But do you get clients that are following you and you get work from your Instagram, social media?
It's rare.
It's rare. Huh?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm not very active on it.
You know what's funny is I find a lot of HVAC, electrical, plumbing get a lot of work from Instagram.
Yeah. Maybe it's saturated. I don't know.
I'll tell you the truth. When me and Mike were in business together, he was getting calls off the hook every day
I believe
from
that.
Instagram.
You guys had a fucking TV show on there, though. That was a
Yeah.
different story.
It
No,
was-
I'm not even joking.
it was
Like
the
that phone
personality.
wouldn't stop, and it's people he didn't even know.
Yeah.
We'd be getting like 10 phone calls a day, and he would just be knocking off jobs. It was crazy.
Mine are more like not necessarily jobs from Instagram, but like if somebody asks me to come provide a quote or entertains the idea of me doing work in their house and I give them that Instagram account or a website, that kind of solidifies the deal. They go on and say, okay, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing, or they see the work and it basically means I'm the right person for them kind of thing. And that's how I get it. I don't get calls directly from people following me online. Like, oh, I saw you on Instagram,
That's a good point. I was going to ask you, have you met clients when you go in and they say, hey, that's actually pretty cheap?
with crown molding all the time.
Really?
What?
Yeah. If I break it down like a crown mold, if I go to a house just to do crown molding and I break it down room by room, there's some rooms that are like $120.
How are you going to do that? I don't understand
This
how you pull
guy's
that.
good, man.
Really?
I guess it comes down to speed and my supplier and how I get my material, but it's just the way it works. Sometimes and they're like, "Oh, I didn't look at it that way." But if I give them the price for the whole job, it could be $5-6 grand to do a house. But if I break it down room by room, usually I do that so that I'll say pick and choose what you want to do. If there's any you want to leave out because we're over budget, it'll come down to that. It'll be like, okay, we're starting at $5 grand. Okay, if we take out the laundry room, that's $180. Why take it out? Well, what's $180?
Got it.
Right. It makes sense that way.
Yeah.
So you're doing that as a marketing kind of...
Yes and no. It's a genuine option for them. Like
Got it.
I want them to see because sometimes they're not sure of what rooms they want to do in the house. So they'll be on the fence about doing the master bedroom or the laundry room or the powder room. So I'll separate those rooms.
So you don't have a problem going in with a quote, presenting it to the client, and the client's going to start cherry picking and remove certain items.
Nope.
You don't have a problem
I'm
with
an open
that?
book.
Really? Yeah.
And I guess it comes with being busy. This is who I am. This is what I come to the table with.
How are you pricing out your? You don't need to give me numbers, but how are you pricing out your wainscoting? Are you doing it by linear footage?
I start with a linear footage price.
Okay, and then all the trim, everything's trim wise. Is it
Everything
hourly
is
or linear footage?
Everything by the foot.
By the foot, huh?
Yeah, everything by the foot. Wainscoting is.
Most trim guys they like the hourly.
I have a hard time.
I've seen what you do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give out your trade secret. This is your trade secret, how you make money. I know it because you taught me, because I worked for you for a bit. I was trying to learn from you. He has a technique that is unbelievable. I'm not going to share it because this is your secret to finishing a house fast and perfect. What I want to ask you is, do you leave it finished for the painter? Or do you finish it?
Yes.
Which one?
To what?
So depends what it is, and depends what kind of a job it is.
That changes the price, right?
Not really. I'm very careful about how I word my contracts, and I'm not being sleazy. It's generally what I'm saying is, for example, nail holes. We're not going to fill nail holes. 9 times out of 10, I'm filling those holes.
But that belongs to the painter. That's the painter's job.
Usually. But
It is.
I like to give that service to
Really?
the homeowner. Yeah. Because a lot of times in the business I'm in, just doing trim where it's not part of a reno, if I'm going in just to do crown molding or just to do casing, a lot of times the homeowner's taking on the painting.
Himself. I
Ouch.
see. I like that.
Trust me, it
That's
happens
a nice
a
technique.
lot.
Ouch.
Right? So
It's true though.
as a
I know,
service,
but it's stupid.
Yeah.
Well, some people they can't save. I've talked about this before. Some people, it takes 10 years to save $10,000.
No, but it's still stupid though. You've spent all this money and time and effort to actually get all this finishing properly
I know,
done,
but
and now you just want to slap paint on.
Do you know how
That's
many
yeah.
homeowners I know that have said they painted in college or university and that's what they like
I don't
doing
give
at
a
home?
shit about that. What was it, student painters back then? I don't care about that.
But that's their passion,
That's
right?
crappy paint jobs.
Yeah.
That ruins
I didn't
all
say
the
it
work.
wasn't. Yeah.
It depends on the market we're working into, right? There's different people have a different outlook on that.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It's you're ruining the job basically if you're trying to take that on yourself if you've never done
Like
it.
I think all the trim, anything that's got wood on it, should be sprayed.
Yeah.
That's my
Oh,
opinion.
totally. But
Yeah.
But the homeowners are not going to do that.
No.
There's
you gotta
some
remember
houses
a
you
lot
can't
of times
spray.
I'm going into a finished house. Like when I'm doing crown molding, a lot of times it's a new home. They've been moved in 6-7 months ago and they want to jazz it up a bit. They want to throw crown molding in. They're not going to come in and
Spray
spray
crew.
it, you
But
know?
I'll tell you something. You know, for the times that I've seen you put crown molding up in an existing home with furniture that's already immaculately beautiful,
Yeah.
his crown molding, without being painted, when he finishes it, it looks finished.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like you walk in the next day and you're like, I can't believe you finished it. Did you paint it already?
Yeah.
It's that perfect.
It comes out, the type of fillers we use and how we treat our corners and
So
stuff like that. Yeah.
what do you do for fillers? You want to give that away?
Usually it's just a white wood filler.
Really?
Yeah. off the
Dynapatch
shelf.
or something?
Yeah. Dynapatch I rarely use for holes, but Elmer's wood.
I love
wood
Elmer.
filler,
Yeah, the Elmer's is good.
Elmer's my
That
go-to.
I'll use that.
Orange cap.
Yeah, and you can add water to it if it gets a little dry.
Oh, I always add water to it. It's too dry on its own.
No, if it's a fresh pack, it's good.
But I like that though, because when you work the hole, you
It
kind of
feels
massage
nice.
it in and it comes nice and flat.
Yeah, and
right?
it's already sanded pretty much from your finger.
basically, yeah.
What are you using for caulking these days? For the crown
I know you
moldings?
guys don't like this stuff.
What do you
Don't
use?
tell me DAP.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a problem with that.
Dynaflex.
Yeah,
Dynaflex 230.
I don't. Have a
Yeah,
problem
okay,
with
I'm
that.
okay with that.
Yeah, that's the only one I use.
So then, what is the issue?
I don't like the traditional DAP.
No.
I find it's
Alex Plus?
yeah.
Fuck outta here.
Yeah, I'm a Sherwin-Williams guy. I use the 8500 and the 750.
this is really bringing up an interesting point.
It stretches.
No, but hang on a sec. So you're using MDF, which is the cheapest version of casing.
Here we go.
But yet you want to use fucking Rolls Royce of caulking on the cheapest material.
No, I use
There's
that
a little
no
bit
matter
of
what.
a conflict here.
No, I use that no matter what on poplar, maple.
I know, but you know what I'm getting at is that why not just use the better wood
because
with the better
many
caulk?
your and Daniel's customers are above blue collar
So then why not just use Alex Plus then?
because it's failed. It's shrunk. It's pulled away. It dries up. I don't like anything about it. I really don't. At my amateur days when I worked in insurance companies, I filled everything with that.
What is the cost of MDF? Like if you take a colonial MDF per linear foot
Well, if you're
versus
go-
a poplar?
Depends where you get it.
Is it twice the price?
No, at a small box store, it's actually very affordable both ways.
Small box store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not big box store.
No.
Big box stores
I see
juice
guys
you.
lugging out a cart of MDF trim at Home Depot. And I'm like, you fucking
Yeah,
poor bastard.
$5,000 later. Yeah. Have you ever used any plastic baseboards or trim?
Probably very little. No, I'd say no.
Yeah.
But yes. Not enough to talk about. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it
Are you
just,
steaming it if you got to make a curve?
I've steamed. I've never run into a situation where I couldn't get it to go far enough.
Oh, really?
I've put trim in showers before just to get the hot water on it, and it's worked.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like put.
No.
That's what I thought.
I was like, what the
I was like,
fuck?
wait, elaborate?
But
Okay.
I don't own a steam box or anything like that. Like,
Oh, really? So you just steamed it that way from
Yeah.
that, and then and it actually bent enough that you got it?
I actually made a poker table not too long ago, full circle, 4-foot radius. I bent poplar around it.
That's wicked. I got the opportunity about a year and a half ago to work at Manny's site, and he brought out Tony, and Tony brought out this 10-inch pipe, about 12 feet long, and we were doing some deck work. And
We were trying to experiment.
he brought some thermal in. It's already like stone. It's dry as hell, and we stuck it in there with a kettle. And it
didn't work.
Didn't work?
It didn't work. The material does not bend.
Sorry,
Yeah.
what was it? The material?
Thermally modified wood, ash.
Thermally modified wood.
Basically, it's got next to no moisture in it whatsoever. It would just snap. We tried it 3-4 times.
Yeah.
It would just snap.
Wow.
It's either that or we couldn't get the moisture.
No, I don't think it was the moisture issue. I think it's the actual wood because the process that it
just
goes
wouldn't suck
through,
it in.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't absorb.
Didn't
it.
want to turn to rubber.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of experience with steam box using poplar or pine even?
No, not too much experience, but it does work.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, the way I've done it way back when is I actually just mitered it when I had I had a 24-inch radius.
Yeah.
And I had
Tight.
to take a 6-inch, 3/4-inch poplar baseboard.
Yeah.
And sure, I could have ordered a plastic version of that, but I go back to I want it to stay wood. I want it to stay poplar.
Now I have in bathrooms, like cheaper bathrooms where I've done commercial spaces, I've had to put in these, and I hate saying I did this, but I put in acrylic pans. I hate them. I hate acrylic pans.
Why do you hate acrylic pans? And why are we talking about acrylic pans on a trim
Well,
show?
I'm getting to that. So I wanted to finish the bathroom up, and the floor was off a little bit. So I bought, which Vella introduced me to, was a rubber molding that was identical to my shoe mold and my baseboard. And I liquid nailed it to the side. And honestly, dude, it worked. Yeah. And I've gone back 100 times to this guy's place, and it's still on, and
Did he
it's still
say,
perfect.
"Hey man"?
He said, hey, man, just so you know. Yeah. A lot of the profiles we use now are pretty readily available and flexible material. And I have no problem using it.
Yeah, because a lot of people are doing they're doing curved walls now, so you need it now, right?
Yeah.
So that's just how it
Definitely
is.
curved staircases.
Circles and crown. If you're
Yeah.
not using plaster, what are you going to do? Right?
That's right.
You can
course.
cut a million pieces, and I've done it. You can order pre-flexed or pre-curved composite moldings. And
What do you want to be known for? What is your trademark, and what kind of business do you want to have? What is it that you're drawing into your business?
honestly, I like the crown and the wainscoting. That's kind of been my baby for years.
Go-to.
Even the coffered ceilings. I love doing that stuff for a number of reasons. But again, back to the taping thing. Like it's clean work for me, right? I cut everything outside, bring it all in, install it, and go home.
You never cut inside a house? That's a great
I
point.
never cut inside of a house.
You know
I don't
what?
care with the dust hood, nothing. Never
You're
did in the
so
house.
right. I've had guys
Winter time, you're still outside, or you set up a tent?
Set up in the garage. Yeah.
Set up in the garage.
Yeah.
You're
Sometimes
so
a fan blowing dust out if I have to, if it's really sensitive. But
nobody realizes how much dust goes into the house. A freshly painted house.
Yeah, no.
Because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll paint one coat after 2 coats of primer, 1 coat of paint on everything before my trim goes on. Then I put my trim and then I spray and then my final coat.
especially with MDF, you can't. There's no way.
Yeah, you can't clean up all
No,
that dust
there's no-
everywhere,
it'll
man.
float for days, and you're gonna get calls.
Yeah, even in 3
My
months
kid's
later.
underwear drawer is full of dust. What happened? Why were you in here? No.
Why were you in here? But you also do bathrooms and renovation, point
do.
loads.
Yeah.
You do complete renovations, second floors, and so on, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of partnered up with one of our close friends, and we do take on pretty much anything. But he's away right now, so that's why I'm saying I'm sort of focusing on what I do, which is
What you like to do.
the trim.
Got it.
Once we're together and things are rolling, then we've done full house renos, basements, bathrooms, anything goes. But on my own with a couple laborers, this is my baby.
I only have 2 questions, and I have 3, and it leads to 5. My first question is, what would you change about homeowners in business?
The biggest,
Eliminate them?
yeah,
Well, people do. They buy their own houses and renovate them.
yeah. No, I think a lot of the problem that I face is finding homeowners that understand that the cheapest is not always the best. And I know you guys have hit on this 1,000 times, but in my trade, crown molding especially, there's a ton of guys out there, and I see them every day at the suppliers, the same crews. It's a penny business, so they're going to take the cheapest one. A lot of them are good, but a lot of people don't understand that the cheapest isn't always the best, and there's 1,000 different reasons why, but that's probably one thing I would change.
And people always say, I didn't go cheap, but they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those cheap guys are going to be the ones that next year they're going to realize that every single Brad didn't touch a joist or
Yeah.
A stud.
And I've seen them work, and they're
good
firing
point,
away a lot. Honest to God, though, I don't like knocking other trades, and even my competitors. A lot of them are really good at what they do. There's a few Russian crews that I run into all the time. They're phenomenal. At the same time, there's a couple other, let's say, ethnic groups that are kind of destroying what we do.
Are you talking about the same race that I was mentioning?
I think
earlier?
so.
Wait a
Maybe.
second.
Okay.
You're an ethnic group, right?
Hey,
That, technically speaking, yeah, we are. All 3 of us are. Okay.
Okay, so if you could reinvent something or your next big purchase for tool, what is it? It's a 2-in-1.
Those are 2 questions.
I'm sorry. I'm old school, buddy. I have my tools. They work for me. I'm not going to change it.
Doesn't matter if like the new 1000 X bar came out.
Beat it.
So you don't need anything and nothing reinvented.
No, I have a problem with buying tools too. Like I'm like a kid in a candy store when it comes to these sales or whatever.
So once you start,
Once I started, and I've built up too much shit already. I've got too many drills I don't fucking need. I got 2 miter saws in boxes in my garage.
I was just about to say that you realize that you have too many tools when you have tools around your house that are still in the
Brand
box.
fucking new.
That is time to either give them away
Yep.
or stop buying tools or stop taking tools.
Give them away to me, buddy.
Yeah, you need more fucking shit.
Let me ask you.
I know, eh?
You having problems
Guilty
with
boy.
finding guys?
Yes.
And what's the problem? And what are you looking for a guy?
Let's start over. Reset the clock. Reset the clock. Let's do this. I don't know where to go.
One question at a time there, sir.
So we're going to get into employment on the employment hour.
Well, because you're at the upper echelon of millennial. You're an elder millennial.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
But-
an elder millennial.
I know,
Yeah.
but the thing is that you have to hire. Are you hiring millennials? Working with millennials?
I don't have a preference for age or background, really.
Attitude does not have age.
Attitude does not have age.
I just
So-
made
I
that up.
like that.
I've worked with a couple people recently. I won't say where. There's a couple really good kids that I've worked with in the recently. Unfortunately, they're few and far between. And what they have, I guess, that some other guys that don't or girls don't have that I've worked with in the past is that basically what it comes down to is when you're talking to them and you're explaining something, they're either looking at you like a deer in the headlights or they get it.
Yeah.
And they can apply it. And like what you asked me earlier, how did I learn? It's I think it's something you have. I couldn't teach myself if I was like some of those other people I've worked with. Some guys you could spend hours a day with them or weeks, and I've had guys on for about 3 to 6 months, didn't learn a fucking thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Barely know how to adapt at the end of the day. Like
I don't think it's that the kids have to learn as much as what they absorb.
yeah.
I've always told anybody that's around me is like, I'm not a teacher. Don't look to me to be a teacher, but hang out with me to absorb what's going on around me. And that's where, and it goes back to your point where it's like, you just know.
Yeah.
You weren't taught, you just absorbed.
Yeah.
And I think the good guys just absorb. They figure out, anybody can walk into any situation. You take a lay of the land, you check out the landscape, and you could already use common sense to figure out what's going on in here. And if it's not a passion in your heart to do this, then, and it's just a paycheck, you get the deer in the headlight look. And then fine. If you want it to just be a paycheck, then guess what? This is going to be a very short-lived relationship.
Yeah.
Move on and go to another occupation or another trade or another fucking planet.
Yeah. And I think in their defense as well, like a lot of times, again, I've experienced it. A lot of times it's not even them wanting just to come collect a paycheck. A lot of times they have good intentions. They want to learn, but you can just see, you put a nailer in their hand or you let them run the saw for the first time. Just by the way they're standing and they're looking at the fucking thing, you know this is not for them. Like from that instant, like there's just that something. I don't know what it is. You can just see in their eyes, this is not for you.
I agree.
I usually can tell right away just by someone coming to work on time early, 5 or 10 minutes early, and starting the day and putting in a good hard 8 hours and not trying to work 10 or 14 or 16 hours. I think that's when you have a really productive, good person that, you know, comes to work, works hard for a good 8 hours and then leaves. That's hard to find.
Even that, like I've had guys come work hard for 8 hours, still didn't learn a fucking thing.
Were they productive in 8 hours?
Depends how you quantify productive, right? For me, productive is learning. I want to be able to, not necessarily like you said, teach, but if you're absorbing it and I could walk away in a couple weeks and you could do some of what I've done in front of you, then we're getting somewhere. But
I had someone tell me one time, we're going, listen, all of us have an opportunity to be on this job site for 8 to 10 hours of the day. Instead of having an attitude or a chip on your shoulder, or you want to listen to music and not pay attention, why not just try to learn something in that 8, 10, 9-hour window? Yeah. And you never know, you might find something that you actually love. But if you don't open up your mind to the possibility of learning something on that 8, 9, 10-hour window, you're missing out, man.
So I think that goes back to what I said about having the it factor, I guess you want to call it. Nobody ever had to tell me that. Nobody ever had to tell me to focus, pay attention, or watch how I do it. Like I just, working for the other carpenter, I saw stuff that he was doing while I was working on my own, figured out some of his little tricks, you know, tweaked it to my own, you know. And before he knew it, I was doing some of the shit that he was responsible for. And he was like, what the fuck am I, you know, like...
Because you're learning.
Yeah. I started off nailing baseboards.
Yeah.
Like that's the shittiest job you get when you start off on a production crew.
Yeah.
A couple months later, I'm installing the doors for him. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's... And he didn't tell me. He didn't want to teach me. I asked him. I said, show me that thing you just did. I went to him. You know, nobody ever had to pull it out of me.
So is this going to be it for you? You're going to like do next 20 years? Trim carpentry? You don't know. You might take another step somewhere else? But you're happy right now the way it's all running.
I thought about becoming a dentist at one point.
A dentist.
Smart move.
Convert a lot of those DeWalt tools.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm easy. If it keeps going well,
Yeah, you're happy. It makes
I'm
you happy.
Yeah, it pays the bills. At the end of the day.
You know what? Being an outsider looking in, you're very efficient at what you do. You're serious. You like to spend time with your family. Yeah. You're a lot like Manny. Start early in the morning, put a good day in, get it done, go home, enjoy life. I mean, you're efficient. I haven't seen anyone in a long time work as fast as you do and get so much done.
The quality has got to be there.
Mostly because
right?
it's MDF.
Yeah.
Do you like routering your own doors pre-hung?
You got a jig?
I make a jig.
You make a jig?
Every time.
I bought the Porter cable jig, and I actually like it.
Yeah.
I had to spend some time
figuring it out
on the phone with the rep, FaceTiming me to explain to put it together.
Yeah.
But once he explained it, I know how to do it.
Was that the 3-hinge or 2-hinge?
4. You can do up to 8-foot doors on a 4-hinge.
And different size hinges?
So, it has everything. It's better than the Freud one, I think. Or what's the other one?
I got the Bostage.
The black one.
I got the Bostage.
Freud makes one too.
Yeah.
And then Lee Valley has another one.
Yeah. This is the Porter Cable one. It's actually pretty good. $400 or something like that. But I liked it. I liked it a lot.
So now you've worked with man-made jigs, I guess, in the past, or your own?
I didn't do, funny enough is, before then, I was using the smaller version of the Porter Cable. You know, the plastic one, the black one? You just
Individual
do
one?
individual.
Yeah.
But I was hating that because if you're off by a 16th or something, then
smashing hinges.
Yeah, and I didn't want to do that. So then I got the full setup, right?
Yeah. So I was going to ask, is it faster to, even with all the setup time for every door, to do that? Because there's only one setup for each job, right?
True.
So once you've done it, it's ready to go.
Once you set it up and you go, and you just, I did like it. I did like it. And I wasn't using a router trimmer. I was actually using a full
router,
a half-inch router, right?
Yeah.
And I was liking it more. So I was a fan of it. I did like it.
I'm going to ask you a stupid question.
No stupid question. Just
Yeah,
stupid
there's
people.
never a stupid question.
What's fire code for underneath doors for space?
5/8.
Beautiful. A lot of people don't know that. I walk into
What?
places
What?
and
It's not an inch and a half?
I've seen that, man. I'm like, hey, bro, there's going to be no backdraft there.
Yeah.
That's the one where you see the dog paws going right underneath it, man. You can clear it. I mean, if your dog paw can go underneath your door, the door's
got a
hung too
serious
high.
problem.
Have you ever seen those doors? I don't know what builder it is, if there's more than one, but their trim guys installed the door stop like 3 inches off the ground. You ever seen that shit?
No.
I've seen it.
Why so high?
I don't fucking know. And they cut it to a 45, and there's like 3 inches of jam left.
What?
I've seen it in multiple houses, so it wasn't an accident.
It's on
Yeah.
purpose.
Probably. So they probably cut a bunch of them, and they don't have to measure
It's
the
the
actual
weirdest
heights.
thing I've ever heard.
I've never heard of
It's
that.
horrible looking, but it's a thing anyway.
There's some funny things, man. There are sorts of. You know what? Here's a question because I haven't seen this in a long time. Does anybody use a quarter round anymore?
Ooh.
I don't think people use quarter
No,
rounds anymore.
just when we're tying in.
And what's even worse is when I see a quarter round in these older subdivision homes that has the 45 cut on the back.
The casing. Oh, yeah.
And then they cut it on a 45.
And there's a hole there.
All your work always paint grade?
You got stain? No?
99.9% of the time, yeah. Most
You
of
haven't
it.
gone into walnut and done. I've been dying to do a library one day.
I was just going to say fucking library would be amazing.
I would love to do a library. I was so close to convincing a client to
What
do
is it? Is it, are people cheap? They don't want to
It's
spend.
fucking ridiculously expensive. It's sheets of walnut veneer and it's walnut crown and it's walnut trim.
Yeah.
It's like
But it's
walnut.
beautiful after.
It's expensive, man.
Yeah.
I've gone into Brenlows and Centrals and I've actually just like sat in the middle of the walnut and the mahogany aisles and just
And that also really shows a real tradesman too. Like
for sure.
to use real wood for stain and have no openings of
You're
any
not going to
kind.
hide behind DAP.
Yeah.
No, you can't. That
You're
has to be-
totally right. Everybody hides
That's
with
perfect. It has to be
caulking.
perfect, right?
Yeah, our motto is just, do your best, DAP the rest, but that's...
Wow.
No.
I had a business called Window of Opportunity at one time, and my motto was the only BS is better service.
Did you come up with that?
No, my partner did.
Window opportunity.
You got all of it? You got everything?
I do, but it's time to go.
Oh, yeah. We haven't even talked about pocket doors.
I fucking hate them.
You can't stand them?
Nope.
Why? Every client wants them.
I know. Yeah.
And they're I want them.
I think I've just yet to work with a kit that's...
Crowder.
Yeah, I've heard...
No, they're good.
Yeah.
I started with Crowder in the beginning, and I've always used them. I've watched Crowder grow into the entity that they are now. They were starting with basic. I remember walking into Richelieu and Dave Van and just seeing the small little section of Crowder and rails, like the 400s or whatever. And I was like, okay, I need something for a nice little pocket door kind of setup. I saw the Stanley, the little makeshift bullshit toy Fisher Price thing. I was like, I'm not using that. Yeah. And then someone introduced me to Crowder, and then I've watched Crowder just... They've got wicked products, in my opinion. They do.
So what is it? Is it the track and the wheels?
It's both. The track is flawless, aluminum track. Yeah. It's the actual wheels. The bearings on the wheels are amazing, and now they've got all the soft close stuff, which is all amazing stuff.
My issue, I think, more than the hardware is the flex in the wall.
Well, the problem is that when you're doing pocket doors, and you know this, you have to use engineered lumber.
Yeah,
you have to. Right? You could try to get perfectly straight 2x4s, but they may twist on you, and then you'll have a problem, right?
Well, it's real wood. It has a direction,
that's how it is, right? So, but if you get the engineer, right, LSLs, then you'll be fine.
With the cheaper pocket doors, what I used to do is after I hung the drywall, I'd get a piece of wood and just stretch the middle of the door just slightly, and I'd leave a piece of block wood in there. I'd walk away for a couple of days, and then when I removed it, there was never any binding because I always found that they always wanted to kind of implode into each other.
True.
That's how I kept it from staying open, just slightly enough that only I knew that I stretched it, and I kept that memory in that wood.
I find the jam kind of fixes that too, right? Once you've nailed off the
Yeah.
jam there. But
Once you can actually use the jam, the finished poplar jam, to adjust that a little bit.
And another problem I always hated was guys always cut them too short, and you can never remove the pocket door. You should be able to remove the pocket door afterwards. It should be able to be fixed or removed. And a lot of times I ever see pocket doors go in, they never are. But the biggest trick to pocket doors, and this me being a painter, is I always tell everybody when you're doing pocket doors, always paint the top and the bottom of the pocket doors. That way the humidity doesn't get in there and swell up the doors or the wood, right?
it was a house in King City. It was like a $10 million build. It was probably a year old when we went in there, and we had to break out like $60 square foot tile to get to the door hardware because the whole bathroom was tiled, just because it was getting stuck.
Is this just recently?
No, this was when I first started out. This was
And the pocket doors were getting stuck.
pocket door was getting stuck, and there was no way to get it out.
And what was
I
the
don't know what
problem?
hardware was. I don't remember. It was
What was
probably
behind the
12
tile
years ago.
when you were ripping out the tile? Was it just regular drywall?
It was drywall. Yeah.
I know what the problem is. I totally know what the problem is.
What was it?
It's the moisture of the shower use going through the tile, going into the drywall, and the drywall was creating moisture inside that pocket cavity and manipulating the actual.
Within a year, though, you think?
Oh fuck!
Oh,
for
so
sure.
you're thinking even if we use a cheap product like a Red Guard over top of that drywall, it would have
Moisture's
prevented
still
the
going
moisture
through.
from penetrating
Moisture's still going through.
That's an excellent point, man.
and
I
it's
think
getting through, and it's making it. I think that heat.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the track was short and it fell off inside.
What the fuck?
I think, it was like 12 years ago.
I wasn't given
that.
that part of the information.
No. No, I can't remember if it was operating or not, or if it was actually fucking lodged in there. I can't remember now.
Next week on the Construction Life Forensics,
We revisit that home.
that would be another segment, eh? We'll just do a show of segments.
I like that. I'm in. I love talking.
No, there's nothing else to talk
Did
about.
you do something for? I was at Brenlo. I don't remember when. There were some videos of you guys fucking.
they still use them.
Did you? Yeah.
They've still been using them. They'll probably be using them for like another 10 years, and I look nothing like that guy, man. Yeah, I did a bunch of videos for them, 4, 5, 6 videos.
There was one that caught my attention. This was, again, years ago at the old location. I don't know if they're still there or not. I think they moved
I haven't
there.
been to the new location
Yeah, neither
yet.
have I. They were doing, I think, window stools. And you guys, I think, either biscuited or doweled
Biscuit.
them in. Yeah, and I was like, fuck, that guy gives a shit.
Wow.
And I still remember the day that
I'll never forget.
because I came up with the idea. It's like, okay, well, hang on a sec. Biscuits are used for this, and I've always hated window jams step down 1/8 of an inch to the actual window sill for the apron.
Yeah.
And I know the reason why guys would do that because then it's going to split apart. So I said, well, hang on a sec. Let me biscuit it, glue the shit out of it, clamp it, sand it, and then build the other 3 sections of the window.
Yeah.
And then install it. And then I built the whole jam and the casing,
Outside.
everything, and then popped it in right into place. So it would never move. And they never moved.
Same thing with my own place. Recently, actually, I have my front door, the space on the right side is a little bit bigger than the space on the left. And I couldn't live with myself if there was a gap on one and not the other, where the back bend is right against the wall. So I extended the casing. So rather than cut the profile off, I wanted to try just biscuiting and gluing the flat part to the casing.
Got it.
So I actually biscuited it, nailed it, and screwed it with glue as well. Tight as a fuck. But you can feel it now.
Oh, really?
It's only been like 3 weeks.
Really?
I don't know why. Yeah, it's not painted yet, but it was an experiment, and I wanted to see what happened. But for some reason,
It worked beautifully. I remember
Yeah.
my plumber coming in, and so my plumber's like old school, late 50s, been in the business since he was 18, and he walks in and he sees the setup, and he's like, "Why the fuck are you guys like putting those muffins or whatever you call them, like the biscuits?" I go, "What, the croissants? The cookies. What, the cookies?" He called it like the muffins, and I was like, "Man, it's not biscotti. Like, what's wrong with you, man?"
is that oatmeal raisin? What is
He goes,
that?
that's too much. That's overkill. I've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
guys in $1 million homes, 3-inch screw right through the face of it.
Yeah, I don't screw anything like that. That's crazy.
You just fill it in with that, but you're good.
That's it.
That's all it is,
There's going to
man.
be a shadow there. It's fucking... Do you want to talk about quickly my process? The efficiency,
Yeah.
quickly.
If you want to give it up, but if you don't want to give it up,
I'm not really. It's basically I can cut an entire house of crown molding before I put one nail in.
Yeah,
That's basically what it is.
So I wanted to take a private course with Daniel because
Wow.
I saw him come at my place and he changed the way I looked at crown molding.
I've seen guys do this for like rooms. They'll go in, measure everything, cut all the pieces,
Yeah.
get them all ready, and then once it's all cut and ready to go, they install.
Right.
You do the same thing.
Same thing, but for the entire house.
The
For the
whole
entire house.
house.
Wow.
The exception is if I have somebody with me who I trust installing it, then I'll do one room, let them go, and then I'll cut the rest.
So the beauty of that is because you set up for all the cuts, get them all done, do all your rights or your lefts or whatever, and then you're not up and down, wasting all that time.
Yeah, the saw doesn't move.
The saw doesn't move.
It's I mean, from left to right.
That's brilliant,
it,
eh?
but, yeah.
That's actually smart.
I picture-
And I swear everything is perfectly tight and snug.
Wow.
Like every time we went upstairs to go put a piece in, it was perfect. And he'll screws in sometimes, and you won't even see it when he finishes dapping.
screws.
I've seen you put screws up a couple times, or nails.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
That's it. It's just trusting.
But that's
your
you
measurements.
learning how to be efficient.
Figuring out a way,
You
yeah.
figuring out where the time is wasted, right? And the time is wasted from changing your method.
Yep.
And then to do one room, why do that? Why not do the whole house?
Yeah, but
That's brilliant, man.
Cut everything straight.
I like that.
We're getting too much into the weeds here, but cut everything straight, basically where I can, and then do all of the corners at the
Yes.
end once everything's already cut the length.
Yeah.
Right. But
It's harder than it sounds.
Well, it's not for everybody. You have
Yeah.
to figure out how to do it.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so Carlito, thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you
this
for
has been
having
an
me.
interesting talk about wood and races
And MDF.
And cutting
Civics.
and trim guys.
and paint and plaster and a bunch of other stuff that we kept on veering off from, and Instagram and bullshit
And Hondas.
and Hondas, and he hates them. And no more fucking nails.
Oh, liquid nails.
Oh, no more liquid fucking nails. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Daniel, for joining us on the podcast. We've had a lot of fun talking to you. And Carlito, I think it's time to get this out of here. Thanks very much, Daniel.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Guys, contact him for your next job. Contact him for any secrets or whatever, or work for him. I don't know. You're hiring, you're not hiring. You're not. He's firing. No, he's not taking anybody. He's firing people. If you work for him, don't show up at work tomorrow.
It's a 416, baby. Daniel Vella, yeah, baby. T.O.